Greetings. I'd like to welcome you to Nobody Knows My Name, which is a panel series that is sponsored by Urban Impact and the Alabama Humanities Foundation. This panel series is to highlight the both known and unknown individuals who made 4th Avenue great. Historic 4th Avenue has several elements as we approach 100 years of existence in 2022. Some of those elements will be highlighted, and we will highlight the individuals who played a key role in making this district what it is. Today we're going to cover music and entertainment. Historic 4th Avenue has always been considered a mecca for music. In fact, it was once called Little Harlem because of all of the various entertainment venues. And we have a very distinguished panel who will describe some of the individuals who played a key role in music and entertainment. So we welcome our live audience. We are broadcasting from Jazzi's on 3rd Avenue here in historic 4th Avenue, and we think you will have a very informative program and time.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Daryl. We are here at Jazzi's on 3rd Avenue, and my name is Carlton Wright, Director of Bands at Alabama A&M University, and I'm pleased to be the moderator of this event. And I again want to thank Daryl and my frat brother, Ivan Holloway. We've been friends for over 30 years. We attended Alabama A&M University together, so I just want to say thank you guys for everything that you have done to make this happen for us. So we'll go ahead and introduce the panel at this time. First up is Mrs. Eloise Gaffney. Mrs. Gaffney is a product of Birmingham City Schools. She earned a BS degree in Secretarial Services at Miles College. She is an original member of the African American Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights Choir. I think I said that right, Ms. Gaffney. Okay. She performed in many mass meetings that were held in the churches during the city at the height of the movement. She was also a foot soldier in the Birmingham campaign. She experienced the harassment of fire hoses, police dogs, and other forms of Bull Connor's mistreatment toward the peaceful protesters. In 1970, Mrs. Gaffney and her sister, along with several other students from Miles College, auditioned and were chosen to tour in Europe to perform in Porgy and Bess. They spent 5 months performing in Switzerland, Germany, Austria, France, and Amsterdam. She serves as the Minister of Music at the St. John Missionary Baptist Church in Pratt City. She was married to the late Roger Gaffney. She has 2 children, Marvin and Carissa, and she's a proud grandmother of 4 and a super proud great-grandmother of 1. So let's welcome Miss Eloise Gaffney. Next up, we have Ms. Valencia Reese Mccurdy. I had the privilege of working with Mrs. Mccurdy's mother, Patricia Reese, at Fairfield High School some time ago. Valencia is the daughter of the late Professor Carlton Reese and Mrs. Patricia Reese. She's a graduate of Huffman High School. She earned a bachelor's degree in broadcasting from Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, and she also earned a master's degree in education. She has performed with artists such as Melissa Morgan and Kid and Play. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Phi Delta Kappa, and the Order of Eastern Stars. She is very passionate about preserving her father's legacy, Professor Carlton Reese, in which we will hear more about him a little bit later on in the program. She has a gospel single that is out right now on WAGG. It is entitled, I've Been Changed. She has 1 brother, Carlton Everett Reese, and she is married to Mr. Gerald Mccurdy. So welcome, Mrs. Mccurdy. Next up is Ms. Carol Clarke, Ms. Clarke is a native of Birmingham, Alabama. Her grandfather, P.F. Clarke, was one of the earliest settlers in the city in the late 1800s. He played a key role in the growth of the 16th Street Baptist Church. Her grandmother, Mrs. Mary Clarke, was also the choir director at 16th Street. 5 of their 7 children became professional musicians who taught and or performed full-time in New York. Carol is a jazz radio DJ. She's a jazz presenter. In 2018, she chaired the Taste of 4th Avenue Jazz Festival. She is currently serving on the board of the Taste of First Avenue. She's a walking encyclopedia of all things music, and I think you're going to enjoy her stories as well. So welcome, Carol. Next, Mr. Daniel Jose Carr. Jose, as he is affectionately known, is a native of Birmingham. He was educated in the Birmingham school system as well. He has a bachelor's degree from Alabama State University. We're not going to hold that against you, bro. And he also has a master's in jazz performance from the University of North Texas. He is a distinguished retired band director. He's taught in many schools in the Birmingham area, notably Bush Middle School and Jackson Olin High School. He was also an assistant band director at Miles College under the tutelage of Mr. Donald Crawford. His bands were always competitive, as they were some of the best bands in the state, and they won many contests in local, state, regional, and national levels. So he's a great trumpet player, jazz trumpet player, and I think you're going to enjoy the story as well. So welcome, Jose, to the panel. And our final panelist is Mr. James Crom. He also is a native of Birmingham, Alabama. He graduated from Phillips High School. He studied computer science at Alabama A&M and earned a BS degree in music education from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. He has served as band director at Carver High School and Minor High School, where we both worked together for 8 years. His bands consistently earn superior ratings. They won local, state, regional, and national festivals and competitions. He's an outstanding saxophonist as well. Currently, he serves as the supervisor of instrumental music in the Birmingham City Schools. So welcome, Mr. James Crom. Okay, now at this time, we're going to be sharing on some stories of some unsung heroes in Birmingham. Nobody Knows My Name is the title of the series, and we as a panelist decided to call it The Unsung Heroes of Music in Birmingham. First up, we have Miss Lucille Bogan. Her pseudonym name is Bessie Jackson. Then we'll transition to Herman Poole Blunt, better known as Sun Ra. We'll talk about Mr. Erskine Hawkins and Mr. Carlton Reese, and we'll wrap it up with a group discussion about the music teachers in Birmingham who were very instrumental and influential to these people that we're going to discuss. So, Miss Lucille Bogan. She was born on April 1st, 1897, and she passed away on August 10th, 1948. She's from Amory, Mississippi, but she grew up right here in Birmingham, where she began singing at an early age. She was a very successful blues singer, and her lyrics were very explicit. Now, people may know about Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, but back in the 20s and 30s, I had no idea that this kind of music was going on. Unfortunately, we won't be able to play that music, but nonetheless, we'll talk about it. The lyrics were very explicit, like I said, talked of violence, sex, drugs, and alcohol. And she also managed her son's band, the Bogan's Birmingham Busters. In doing some research about her, found out that in 1935, she returned to Birmingham to talk about, to manage her son's band. And I did hear one of his clips the other day, and it sounded very, very good. So let's talk about Miss Bogan for a moment. And we unfortunately don't have any video clips that we plan to show, but we can talk about the music and what it means today. James, Jose, the blues. She was a great blues singer, so you guys perform a lot around town, so just chime in on what the blues is so that everyone can understand that.
Well, the blues is of course what we call it is sad music. You drown your sorrows in that music. And if we notice that blues actually was a derivative of the field hoppers that the slaves were doing. Of course, back then it was sad, moans and groans, and the same thing with blues. It was the same thing. And so, and then there's a form to blues that, 12-bar blues, you have 16-bar blues. And on the performance side of the blues, I'll turn it over to Mr. Carr.
Oh, thank you. Nelson Baker, he kind of summed everything up about the blues, but even when musicians play around town and you can't think of a tune to play. So, man, let's play the blues.
Yeah.
You know, let's play the blues in B flat or F, and it all you're doing is telling a story on your horn. And like I was taught by the ones that passed the music to me, that's gone over to the other side, it's just like a man trying to talk to a woman. You telling the story on your horn. That's all the blues about. You just got to make sure you play in the right key.
And I can say this, in teaching music appreciation, I kind of lend the blues, well, the blues is, like James said, comes from the field hollers, which comes from the Negro spirituals. And to me, the spirituals were those songs that the slaves sang to comfort themselves, to help them to get through the hard times. It told the story of them in a religious way, in a sacred way. And in a similar way, I think that's what the blues is to a lot of people. It tells in a secular way the hard times of freed people. So the blues and spiritual are akin to each other. So that's very important. And if you think about what's going on today with the pandemic, with the politics that's going on in our country right now, there are a lot of people that are oppressed about what's going on, and some may turn to the blues. So that's very important. Carol, you got anything you want to add to that?
Sure. When I think about the blues, and as you all pointed out, the evolution from those field hollers and call and response, those work songs that help people make it through the day, I think of all these forms that have evolved, the indigenous black forms that have sort of refined into blues, jazz, and gospel as sort of first about survival and then really transcendence, because if you can sing about your trouble, you really have managed to deal with your emotions and your anguish, whatever's that tedious lifestyle. So I don't know if our ancestors consciously did this, but it was really brilliant, because these songs became the hallmark of our survival and kind of the reason we're not ISIS today, probably. I think about how black people have, how resilient we have been, as people through what we've had to endure, and I think the music has been that foundation.
Okay, so that wraps up our session on the blues. So we'll transition into Mr. Herman Poole Blunt, better known as Sun Ra. Sun Ra was born in 1914, and he passed away in 1993. And this man was a visionary. He was educated in Industrial High School, which is now Parker High School, and I think his band director was Fess Watley. He also attended Alabama A&M University, go Bulldogs, and he dismissed his earthly birth to take on what he called a transition of him being born in Saturn. And so that's why I say he was a visionary, and he was really out there with his music. He played a clip by Duke Ellington, Take the A Train, and I was just amazed at how he was able to take that and improvise through it, just playing little motifs through it and coming back and doing his thing with the weird far out music, if you will. But Sun Ra was really a great musician, and Carol has some great stories about Sun Ra that she can share with us at this time, and Jose as well.
Yeah, my father told me about Sun Ra and, how way out he was. And here in Birmingham, Alabama, we have an institution called the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame that back when it was formed, did an annual induction ceremony. So the year that my father was inducted, I believe it was 78 or 79, was the year that Sun Ra was inducted into the Jazz Hall of Fame. And my mother couldn't attend or had to be late, so I sat on the dais with my father, and I could see Sun Ra as they were taking the inductees and putting them in these combos to play some selections for the attendees, And I went over with one of my father's friends to meet him, and when I got near him, he had on this crushed velvet poncho with these gemstones all over it. He didn't smell like he had bathed recently. I hate to say that about an icon, but it's the truth. And I was about 17, so I was just really, I just thought he was so far out. But he was in one of the first combos to play that night because he had to rush to get on a plane to Belgium. So international fame at that point. But when he started to play, I can remember the mouths of the audience just dropping open because it was so far out. And then he broke it down into Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and it was like the crowd relaxed because they knew that song. But it was just a pretty fascinating experience to meet him at age 17. And then later, I would live in New York. The year he passed away, 1993, Columbia University Radio did 2 full days of tribute to Sun Ra. So I knew he was an icon and, a person who had achieved a lot of fame. And the last thing I'll say about him is that his concerts, I didn't really get to see him in concert, but now through YouTube, you can see about anything. But he was known for his concerts turning into a full-fledged spectacle because there was all of this costuming and, of course, his mythology about being from Saturn and pageantry and parading on the stage and, a lot of interaction with the audience. So he was quite a character, a colorful character, and I noticed how we all just kind of smiled when he said the name. So.
Okay, Jose, you got some information you want to share with us?
This is very short because Carolyn, she basically nailed it, but the only thing I want to say, they had how the houses look in Norwood, them big old houses in Norwood before they fix them up. That's the kind of house Sonny Blunt them stayed in Philadelphia. And the only way you can get in his band, his name, I know you said Sunrise, but his name, they just called him Sonny Blunt. That's his name. And they had the house up in Philly where they had a chance to go back. Because I was curious about jazz, so I was just moving around a little bit. And we had a guy here play bass with Sunrise, Jolton Callins, your frat brother. Well, he played bass with Sunrise. That's how I got the connection. And John Gilmore, the first tenor player, one taught Coltrane how to play. So he had all these historical people in his band at the time, but it's just the house was a big old house where they practiced at all the time, and the only way you could make the band is go through the house. Wow. And I did go to his funeral, his passed away funeral, which was at George Washington Carver, a cemetery or so. But the other part, Carolyn, she kind of basically nailed it. But I saw a lot of concerts. I saw them, and at the time, it had me kind of curious, what was going on, Because I basically the last time I saw Sonny Blunt, we was having, what the thing we had here?
City Stages.
Yeah, we had City Stages.
He was here.
And Terrence Blanchard played first. So, okay. And Sonny Blunt came by him. It was a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? So, so that's my experience.
It's like Carol said, if you go to YouTube, you can find anything, but I suggest if you would just check out Duke Ellington's Take the A Train, and then find a live performance of Sun Ra playing Take the A Train. You're going to be blown away because, like Carol said, it's just far out there, and then he just breaks it down and just plays the theme all the way through, and then he goes back into the rant and rave of the music. So that's a great video. I suggest everyone take an opportunity to look at those. So we'll make a transition again, going into Mr. Erskine Hawkins. And Jose is familiar with Mr. Hawkins as well as James and Carol and everybody on the panel, I'm sure. But Mr. Hawkins was born on July 16th, 1914, same year as Sun Ra, and he died November 11th, 1993, same year as Sun Ra. Wow. He also was an graduate of Industrial High School, which is Parker High School. Yay. He attended Alabama State University, Jose. And some of his famous compositions are Tuxedo Junction, Tippin', and After Hours. And he played with some greats like Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, just a host of other people, Benny Goodman, and a lot of guys that he played with. So you guys can take it away and tell us what you know about Mr. Erskine Hawkins.
Okay, first of all, I got to get the Alabama A&M people back. Erskine Hawkins is Alabama State Collegiate cooler way, Joe Newman, all the reason Alabama State is open today because Erskine Hawkins band. They went to New York and made money and come back to keep the school open. And believe it or not, on the Alabama State history, they kind of hold that against them because that's a graduate from Alabama State University. We don't even acknowledge that no more like we should. But I did talk to the president for the corona, and we was planning on, like, back during the time, during homecoming, the night before homecoming, Erskine Hawkins, they always had a jam session the night before. They played Tuskegee. And we was trying to get that back going at Alabama State with the current staff there now, but the corona kicked in. But I know y'all probably think I'm an old man, but actually I played with Erskine Hawkins. He used to come here, come on, can I have my thing to have an instrument? Erskine Hawkins.
Tuskegee.
Yeah,
Function at the Junction.
Function at the Junction when it first started.
Yeah.
Chuck was playing, J.L. Lowe, Frank Adams, Jesse Taylor, one of the baddest saxophone players ever came through Birmingham, unknown person. Basically all of them had, I was playing in the band, and I actually met him when I was 16 when he came by the school to see Amos Gordon, but we was playing in the band. He'll come down and play and everything, and like I said, that was a great experience, but them guys really can play. They played very well, and Carolyn did say when we talked the other night, her dad had told me, he said, Chuck said, Jose, that was a dance band. Erskine Hawkins really was not a jazz band, it was a dance band. And Carolyn did talk about, at that time, everything on the radio was dance music, for that time. So it was just like, we hear what Frankie Beverly Mays, during that time, you hear Erskine Hawkins. The bass was a dance band, and Sammy Lowe, J.L. Lowe brother did a lot of arranging for Erskine Hawkins, all the roads. And I had a chance to play with the guy that playing the part on Tipping In. I went to California with him and met the last part of it before they passed. And also I met Carolyn Unc at the time. He came and sat in, Bay Boy Clarke. He was playing with Duke Ellington band at the time, because when Duke Ellington died, his band still exists. The band still was moving around. So I had a chance to play with some of the old guys before they left. So that's my story about it.
So, thanks, Jose, for reminding me about the whole swing era dance music piece. Because, now we think of big band jazz as a part of the jazz genre. But in its time, it was just the pop music of the day. And when Erskine Hawkins, my Uncle Pete Clarke, he was, I think, the second born of the Clarke family, about 1914 was when he was born. He went to Alabama. Well, Fess Watley helped organize the Bama State Collegians, and he was the printing teacher at Industrial, who was the maker of musicians, is what they call him. But he helped organize the Bama State Collegians, as Jose said, and they really helped the school survive through the Depression. And I think when my Uncle Pete was a part of it, and I think when they went to New York and became a hit, I don't believe my Uncle Pete ever came back home to Birmingham. I think he just stayed in Harlem from that point.
That's right.
But I think the school looked at it as they stole the music, the instruments, perhaps, and maybe that's why there's a rub with the school.
Most of them didn't come back.
But when they finally recorded Tuxedo Junction, it was composed as an instrumental, and one of the lyricists of the times helped create the lyrics that we know the song for today. And I guess, I don't know, it hit, when Hawkins recorded it, I think it went to number 7 on the pop charts in that time. And then later, after the lyrics were added, Glenn Miller Orchestra recorded it, and it went to number 1 on Billboard. But I mean, it was known all over the world, and it's about a little place in Ensley. So I think that's just super cool.
Absolutely. And being from Montgomery, we used to go and watch the Alabama State University band practice a lot. And I learned about the Alabama State Collegians at that time under the band was under the direction of Dr. Thomas E. Lau at that point, and he recruited me to go to Alabama State, but being from Montgomery, I had to get away from home and experience being away. So that's my story with the Bama State Collegiate. It's very rich and steeped in history. James, you got anything you want to add on to that?
No, I just know that, of course, I got introduced to the Tuxedo Junction type thing through Dr. Adams. And of course, we talk about the unsung heroes or the ones that we don't know the name of. But the thing is that it was through education that a lot of these guys got their start. And so while I'm getting my education, Dr. Mays, who's my elementary director, she would invite Dr. Adams over, and that was one of the first songs that I ever learned how to play. Jazz songs that I learned how to play was Tuxedo Junction. And standing there, 10 years old, next to the iconic Dr. Adams, playing with me, of course, it just did a world for me. And of course, this is something that I had to do for life, because through him, that love for music really, really came about. And so that's how I got involved with Tuxedo Junction and learning about this. I would ask questions, and I still learn a lot from Jose, because Jose is full of knowledge. I'm one of the younger ones on the panel, so I get my wisdom from the older guys, and he taught us about a lot of stuff like that.
Well, great. Now we will transition into Professor Carlton Reese, and we have on the panel his daughter, Mrs. Patricia, I'm sorry, that's her mother, Ms. Valencia Reese Mccurdy, and Ms. Eloise Gaffney. So you ladies can go ahead and take the stage and just tell us all that you know about this icon.
I'd like to start off with a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in his book, Why We Can't Wait, in 1964. It's in a sense of the freedom songs were the soul of the movement. These songs bind us together, give us courage together, help us to march together. I'd like to say that Carlton Reese, who was my dad, was a teenager during the movement. He would attend the mass meetings, and at the time that he would continue to attend the mass meetings, he was called by Mamie Brown Mason and Bogan, and also, of course, the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, to become the director of the choir. He began to write music for the movement based on the sermons of what the cause was, and that was a fight for freedom. So the songs would be written, certain songs like Can't You See Your Freedom Coming, Freedom Shall Be Mine, I've Got a Job, the song I've Got a Job, You've Got a Job to Do, We Can't Get Freedom Till We Get Through. This would be the inspiration to get the people to go out into the streets and to march. We were marching on to Freedom Land. There are several songs that were written for the cause of freedom. Also, the members of the choir would march and go into the streets. They would also be jailed at that time. And they would say many times that we got put in jail for just singing and praying. And also, when they would go into the jails, they would sing and pray, and the regular prisoners would ask them to sing and pray at that time. But like I said, the lyrics of the songs were written based on what was going on back in the 1960s.
And I would like to add, there are so many songs that's embedded in our hearts. These songs were songs to inspire the people. It's just something about music. I've heard of all of these different genres, but it's just something about music that brings us together. Mm-hmm. So we would sing songs, as she said, like, if you miss me from the back of the bus, you can't find me nowhere, come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be riding up there. Those songs were, they were inspiring to the people. We would sit in the mass meetings and sing songs like, I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And when I tell you, the whole church was swaying and swinging, and we would swing right on out the door and into the streets of Birmingham. Wow. And that happened for a while, but it wasn't until they called on the young people that we changed this whole world. Children came out of the schools all over this city. I was at A.H. Parker High School, and if anybody know anything about Mr. Winston at Parker, he was the big bad wolf. So Mr. Winston stood at the door to stop us from going out of the door, and they just trembled over him. As afraid as I was, I really got a lot of courage from the movement. I went out the window. And, you know, we all got together, and the movement was so organized. We went out of the window and got in lines of twos all the way from Parker High School down to 16th Street Baptist Church. And that's where all of the protests began. I was in the park when they put the water hoses on us and the dogs. But we sang the whole time. And that was encouragement to us. And it was just a way to unify us. These freedom songs were a way to just bring us together. And all of these different, to hear all of these, the blues, you could sing, you know, one of them I can't even say, you know, we know what that. But then there were other songs that were lifting, like, we've got a job to do. You know, we can't just walk around and act like everything is okay. We got a job to do.
While she's mentioning that, I like to say that we've got a job was written in jail at the time. He wrote it in jail on toilet paper in jail, a particular song. He was bunked with Bishop Calvin Woods at that time. They were both in jail at that time when he wrote that.
That's right. So, hey, we have a long story to tell. And I can't ever get past it. My members know Carol Robertson and Cynthia Wesley, two of the girls that were killed in the bombing, were my classmates. We went to Wilkerson Elementary School together. Carol and I graduated Wilkerson and went to Parker. Cynthia went to Ullman High School. That's the school that's no more. You know, I get all of the Ullmanites with that one. But it's just amazing how we lived through that, but it was a song. It was a song that was placed in our hearts. And Carlton helped us to realize everybody at that time were not Christian. So we had to incorporate songs that were not so Christian, you know, but the movement brought in songs that just incorporated all genres, the jazz, the blues, the hip hop. You know, we did all of that, and it was something to encourage the young people, but it got their attention. Okay?
Ms. Gaffney, can you elaborate on what it was like to have those hoses and dogs turned on you as you all went to jail? Just elaborate on that for a moment, please.
You know, I think we were really too young to realize the danger. You know, the fear was we were so excited. We were excited to be there. And we marched, we sang, we prayed, we knelt, we got on our knees, but I don't think we realized the danger. But it was frightening just to know that they were doing this to young kids. You know, to put the water hose, it was a building, I can't remember, y'all might could help me. It was a building right across from 16th Street. There was a cafe on the corner, and there were several buildings there. And that's where they sprayed the hose, and the force from the water was so powerful that it knocked the windows out of those buildings. But we just kind of held on. We didn't realize that we were where we were. But we were strong enough to say, you know, I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And we walked right in front of that little white, what did they call that thing? What Bull Connor rode in?
Oh, yeah,
The big tank, the big white tank. We walked right in front of that and said, I ain't gonna let Bull Connor turn me around. I mean, nothing but a God would do that. I mean, because he had all of the power. The police already out there spraying us and putting the dogs on us. Some of our friends, you could see where the dogs had just ripped the skin from them. It was just horrible when we think about it, but God just put us in a place where we were just needed right then, and he just took that fear away. Mm-hmm.
I would like to say that after graduating from Mouse College, Dad attempted to get a job in the Birmingham school system. Mm-hmm. And the superintendent said that he had a jail record and that he was too much trouble, so they would not hire him because of being in the movement. He had to travel to Amory, Mississippi to teach for 2 years, and then finally was hired in Shelby County during that time. After the movement, he, of course, was a member of the SCLC during that time and was over all the Martin Luther King celebration activities up until 2002. He also was over the Unity Choir. He developed the Unity Choir for the Unity Breakfast. And I'd like to say that now they're called the Carlton Reese Memorial Unity Choir. And we've been going on for almost 20 years since he's passed. We've been carrying out the legacy of the movement and the legacy of Dad as well. We have sung for many churches, many organizations that come through on the Civil Rights Tour. We've been in Soundtrack for a Revolution, Danny Glover being the producer of it, the Bob of Birmingham, and many other documentaries. But that's most important mission is to give scholarships at this time. We've been giving scholarships to children who major in music at different colleges, like we're Unity Choir, so there have been various races that have gotten scholarships at this time. There have been 36 students, and also we've given $62,000 worth of scholarship at this time.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, so that is a wealth of history right there, and I'm sure that they can go on and on about the experiences with Professor Carlton Reese. So at this point now, we will transition into talking about some instrumental or very influential teachers who were able to get some of these students to where they are now. So I'm just going to toss out some names that are really influential in this area. Fess Watley, Professor Amos Gordon, Flash Gordon, John McAfee, the late Charles Reed, Mr. Arthur Means and his wife Dathea Means, Dr. Frank Adams, Mr. Alonzo Gasson. Now, he was a teacher of music in Fairfield City School System, but he really touched a lot of people in the Birmingham metropolitan area. Mr. Donald Crawford and Chief, Mr. Adolphus Williams. So, guys, take it away. Tell us what you know about these giants.
Okay, so I was fortunate enough to be under one of those giants, and that was Mr. John McAfee, after coming from Dr. Mays. And then I grew up idolizing all of them because, like I said, I'm 10, 11. I'm looking at all these great band directors, even Jose, back then I'm looking up at him, I'm like, wow, they just really amazed me. And then Chief, at Parker, that's what we called him, we called him Chief, and he didn't play either, so, and during that time, the band programs, that brought the communities together. We were always together. On Friday nights, it was nothing like getting together in your neighborhood, and it was friendly rivalry. I mean, we were serious about it, just like Alabama and Auburn, Alabama State and A&M, we were serious when Carver had to play Parker, nothing was like that rivalry. But it brought us together, but what brought us together, not just the sports, but it was the music. The music brought all of us together, and we had great leaders that passed on some things to us. And the lineage, Amos Gordon to Mr. Crawford and Mr. Carr, these guys came up under Amos Gordon. I was fortunate enough at Alabama A&M that I shared an apartment with Yasin. Yasin is Mr. Gordon's grandson, and when he told me about his granddad, he's like, yeah, my granddaddy, Mr. Gordon, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, your granddad is, Amos Gordon, and he kind of knew, he's like, my granddaddy, yes, he's famous. He really did a lot with music here. You also had Mr. Merriweather, he was another great icon that, and he's still around and doing great things. You had over at Woodlawn, you had Mr. Maddox. These things kept going on with even Mr. Wright. I wanted to study under Carlton Wright when I was first coming out because, again, they made sure that they got their lineage from the older guys and they passed it on, which that's what we do when in our culture. We pass these things along. You're doing, you're keeping that going with Mr. Reese. You're keeping it going, and that's what we really need. To keep these things going. We need to get jazz back into our schools because we, in our predominantly black high schools, the jazz programs are really not there. And so now we're losing that. So it's up to us still to make sure those things continue because that's the only true American art form that was created here in the United States was jazz, about us. But Any more instructions? I know you got Mr. Means and Miss Means.
Yeah, but yeah, Mr. Means, Miss Means, they was very good educators, but I don't really know a whole lot. I just met Mr. Means when I became an adult before I was dealing with the bands, because believe it or not, he talked about the rivals, but I didn't know nothing about Carr and Phillips rival until basically until I went to college from the kids that attend the schools, because when I was at Jackson Nolan, Amos Gordon was there. Crawford came out last year, but Amos Gordon was so, marches and putting emphasis on music, playing all this concert music like Tulsa and all stuff like that. And I always think I was blessed because I'm gonna just let you know what I ran across. Richard Clarke, Carlton Clarke uncle, he said my embouchure, my trumpet, embouchure is setting your lips on the horn. Then he passed. Then I had Ernest Carbon. That was outstanding band director at Wilkerson. He was at Wilkerson and
I had him at Wilkerson.
And the parents at Wilkerson, that was to do neighborhood at that time. They went to the board and got him full time. I ended up going down to Jackson Nolan, and Amos Gordon was there, where he had taught my mother's sister and taught my dad, and then he had been teaching at council before they built Western. And then at that time, I was attending James one time. He was on the gig. I'm meeting all these bad cats coming and visit him from New York, playing in the band room. I mean, I never heard nothing like that in my life, you know what I'm saying? And actually, that's why I met Joe Tonette, I met Leonard Well, I.C. Bell, all these people that was good players. And during that time, I was talking about Alabama A&M, before the black bands to go to MPA and district, it was like a contest at Alabama A&M. And Mr. Mean was telling me about, and Mr. Gordon used to go up there and just dominate it. Because he was playing like S to Proceed, S to Procession to Proceed, playing all that hard stuff. So, like James said, he kind of nailed it. And I like to say there's one name you left off, Carlton. There was a band director, did a real good job, turned some bad players. And I just learned that, just hanging around with older guys. Carolyn Dad was the band director at Dunbar.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, my dad was
in
bad.
Bessemer, yeah.
Yeah, Bessemer. He was the band director at Dunbar. He turned this bad trumpeter named Fred Ballard. He came to here about a year and went on back. He was from Boston. Sounds just like Freddie Hubbard. He said, man, a dude named Chuck Clark told me. He thought you were just saying this now. I said, I know Chuck. And I didn't know Chuck was a band director at Dunbar.
Yeah.
Chuck taught Ernest Carvin.
He did.
At Dunbar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the rest of the band directors, like Chief and all them, they was good guys and turning out good players. And like James said, during that time, you go to a game and Carlton was over there at Fairfield because he's telling me all the time, man, I got to play McAfee, man. I got to play Madoff, man. They come in smoking, Carlton was at Fairfield, trying to keep it going.
And then, we had also about passing it along, Early Billups.
Yes,
in
right.
2001, he put together a big band.
That's right.
And we were reading, especially from some of us young band directors, I should say, they call us young bucks, but we, so that we can learn more about jazz by performing it. So he put all of us together for that summer, and we did a couple of things, but I wish that we had the phones that we have now that could have recorded on spot, because we did a concert one night, and one of the greatest trumpet battles happened, and it's not even recorded. And that was, we featured on one song, Bo Berry and Tommy Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
And I can imagine
they
what that
went at
sounded
it for
like.
30 minutes.
Players.
It was unbelievable. Hey, we didn't have anything to record it, but that's their thing of passing along and teaching the young directors the importance of jazz.
And James, the other band we put together, we put the HBCU band.
Right.
The young and old upstairs at the Boss. You was in that band. Yeah, you was in the band. Yeah, we had the HBC band.
I'd like to make a comment, take it way back to Fess Watley, who the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame sort of features him as the maker of musicians, and a lot of the students who came from his tutelage, but he was a printing teacher at Parker. He wasn't actually the band director.
That's right.
But he had all these bands and ensembles that would go out and play gigs, and he used the students. And all of I'd say my father and most of his siblings were students of Fess Whatley, and they went on to, most of them went on to have careers in music or music education. But the folklore around Whatley trained musicians coming to New York was that Duke Ellington said, "Send me a Whatley trained musician, no audition required." Wow. Because they were known to be really excellent musicians, punctual, and gentlemen. My dad told me that when they did a gig with him, if they fell asleep in class, he wouldn't pay them. So they were very studious. They had to be studious and, punctual and good musicians. So that's just a little anecdote
That's right.
from the lineage.
Right. And we don't want to forget out the vocalists because, you have at Parker famous Perry Anderson,
Yes,
with the choir down there. And, of course, at Parker you had Nell Carter,
That's
who came back and did a concert at the newly opened Fair Park Arena and did a concert with the Parker Choir. And then, of course, you had the late Brenda Banks, Smith, that did a phenomenal job.
And that choir thing at Parker, what's his name? Perry Anderson was the man, but Henry started
Mr. Henry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Henry was there 30 years.
I was in his choir.
Henry started it, and Perry Anderson told me a story. He was working down in Tuscaloosa somewhere, and Henry told me he was going to retire. He wanted him to take over because that was his student. You know what I'm saying? So Perry Anderson told me about that, and he kept saying he didn't know, and all of a sudden Henry just told you going to come to Park. So let it go, because Henry was there 35 or 40 years.
Forever.
What about Miss Stolenwork at Western?
Yeah,
That's
right.
right.
Stolenwork went to Western.
She was my aunt.
Stolenwork,
Yeah, Stolenwork. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because she was there for so many years at Western,
She was.
and then she transitioned to Jackson, and she had the choir. She played the organ at 16th Street.
Yeah.
But the choral tradition, was a serious tradition as well.
Yeah, Birmingham had about the 4 top choir teachers.
That's
Perry
right.
Anderson, James Pruitt,
James Pruitt, I remember
and
that.
Jake Cunningham. All of them was pretty good. Yeah.
Wow, Birmingham is really steeped in music history, and not only in Birmingham, but throughout the state of Alabama and the world for that matter. So with that being done, I want to thank the panelists. All of you guys have really contributed immensely to this program, and you've done an outstanding job, and I've learned so much, things that I didn't know.
Why are you giving that to me?
Birmingham under these great teachers. So thank you again for your contribution to the program. Shortly into some music, but as we continue, James Crom and I taught at Minor High School together for a long time, 8 years, and I left in 2013 going to Alabama A&M University, and he took over the program, and they were able to just take the program to super heights from that point. And recapping with Jose, I've known Jose since I started teaching in Birmingham in '87. I was at Fairfield High School, and I didn't mention that his band at Bush Middle School had one of the largest bands, not only in Birmingham, but in the state of Alabama. I think he put about 250 students in that particular band program, and they would do parades. That was the first time I've ever seen a middle school band perform in a parade to the magnitude that they have done. And many bands tried to repeat and copy that feat that Jose did, but none was able to do so. Just about the entire school was in the band, so he did a great job with that. And Carol, man, like I said earlier, she is a walking encyclopedia of music history, not only in Birmingham, but the world. I've learned so much from speaking with her in our Zoom sessions before today, and it was just amazing of the people that her family, the people in her family were able to do the feats that they've done. As a matter of fact, I was sharing the story. When I came to Birmingham, we joined 16th Street Baptist Church, where I'm still a member, and I was sold when I heard the orchestra playing there. One of her relatives, Richard Charles Young, is a saxophonist there, and Rick Streeter, all the guys that's in the band, they were just gigging, and I'm like, okay, that's me. I've got to be in that band. So that's it as far as Carol and her contribution to the program. Her family is really fascinating. So now, at this point, we're going to transition to a performance with Miss Eloise Gaffney and the choir from the movement.
Till we get through carrying the cross. Oh, and we're fighting for freedom. Some of you might not hear us. Freedom. Constitution of the United States says that we do freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom, justice, 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 justice. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Freedom, 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 freedom. We've got a job to do. Can't get freedom till we get through carrying the cross for our rights.
Well, come on. God said, yes, come on. My God said, why don't you come on? God said, yes, come on. My God said, rain, freedom, rain, freedom, rain, freedom, rain, freedom. Come on, oh, freedom side. Come on, freedom side. Won't you come on? God said, yes, come on. My God said, it's gonna rain.
Paul and Silas bound in jail had no money to forgo their bill. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, why don't you hold on? Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, why don't you hold on? Hold on. Hold on, keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
This presentation today, Nobody Knows My Name. This was a fabulous and I think, just an awesome introduction to what this district, what this city has contributed to the fabric of the nation. We are encouraged by hearing a little bit about these wonderful people who are, when I grew up, these were household names. They weren't unsung heroes. They were people that my parents talked about often, how they were set out to change our community, change our world, change our lives. And it means a great deal to me to have people who are still here passionate about this particular music that emanated from this district, this city, this state, and more importantly, our people. So I'm just in awe to be able to be here today and make this presentation. So we're here because of support from the Alabama Humanities Foundation, and of course Jazzi's on third. Let's give them a round of applause for having us here today. And just a note that Jazzi's on third pays homage to Mr. Henry Blankenship, a wonderful jazz artist in his own right. So as we continue to work to rebuild this particular community and this district, these are just some of the things that we want people to understand about the power of place, the power of position, and more importantly, the power of opportunity. So, my name is Ivan Holloway. I serve as the Executive Director of Urban Impact, and it gives us great pleasure to be here with you today. So, without further ado, we're going to close out, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that Birmingham has had a rich history in music. And the people who were mentioned here today, some of you would consider them unsung heroes. But again, as I mentioned, these folks were household names. And I went to Parker, had a chance to march with Chief Adolphus Williams, Miss Stolenreck, sung in her choir at 16th Street Baptist Church. Mr. Colvin at Wilkerson School was my first band teacher. So these are people who made us who we are as a community. And I am so proud to be a part of Birmingham and so proud to be representing Urban Impact and the work that we do to rebuild the fabric of our community. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if we could get the song, the choir, to close us out with one more song. Wasn't that fabulous, everyone? So thank Daryl, thank the team for joining us today on Facebook. We're just so excited. We have 2 more programs we'll bring to you on October the 16th and October the 23rd, and those will feature architecture and business. So Birmingham played a big place in history with our architecture as well as entrepreneurship and business growth. So join us for those on Facebook Live as we will talk about other unsung heroes. Nobody knows my name. Thank you so much for having us today.
Ain't gonna let nobody, oh no, ain't gonna let nobody, I'm gonna keep on marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let segregation, oh no, ain't gonna let segregation. I'm gonna keep on marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let Buchanan, oh no, ain't gonna let Buchanan. I'm gonna keep on marching up to freedom land. Oh, we're gonna walk We're gonna walk. We're gonna talk. We're gonna